Welcome to Lair the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, in my opinion, 10 heaviest Pink Floyd songs. Now, Pink Floyd is not a band that I would consider in any way to be heavy metal or even hard rock, really. For me, they're more of a progressive rock, or if you just want to call them a rock band. But they do have some moments that are pretty heavy. Now, heavy in the context of Pink Floyd does not necessarily mean Sabbathy style distorted riffs and bashing drums, that kind of thing. For Pink Floyd, the heaviness tends to come through more in the mood and the atmospheres that they create in their songs. So I thought it would be fun to try to pick 10 songs from them that kind of have this heavy feel to them, and some of them do have some heavy sort of crashing power chords in them. So all right, let's get started. I've sort of put them in order from the earlier albums to the later albums. So I've got from Piper at the Gates of Dawn 2 songs from here: Astronomy, Domain, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and Interstellar, Overdrive. Both these songs kind of feel a little bit the same to me. Astronomy has the vocals in it, these sort of creepy vocals with like that harmony and the big like sort of crashes, and it's got some spacey type sounds in it. Interstellar Overdrive has that main riff, that descending line. Now that is like a very power chord like heavy guitar sound, and considering this is 1967, that's pretty far out and heavy for 1967. And Interstellar Overdrive does the same thing, where it sort of descends into this freeform kind of psychedelic noise type section there, you know, where you do sort of feel like you're flying through outer space or something. But those are 2 pretty heavy songs for their time. And Voivod would go on to cover Astronomy, Domain later on. So just to show you that, you know, Pink Floyd, it could translate into, you know, more 80s and 90s modern heaviness. But for 1967, it's still really heavy. All right, from Saucerful of Secrets. Now, this is an example of one that doesn't have heavy crashing guitar in it. For me, it's the mood of the song, and it's Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. This has this kind of like tribal drum beat, slow tribal, repetitive drum beat underneath it. The bass line is this repetitive, ominous sounding bass part, and Roger does these like whispered vocals, and I love the title of the song, and just the way he sings it just so softly and has such an ominous, eerie, kind of floating, nebulous feeling to it. I just think it's awesome. I especially love the Pompeii version. That whole video, Pink Floyd at Pompeii, is great. And whenever I hear that song, I think of him, where he's, you know, God, he's singing the song and he's really close to the microphone, just whispering it. And Nick Mason is playing his drums with mallets, you know, for that tribal rhythm. And it's just so sort of creepy sounding. All right, from the More album. Now, this is a heavy, maybe one of the heaviest, like, guitar heavy type songs in Pink Floyd's catalog, and that's a song called the Nile Song. And this one's got big crashing kind of power chords in it. David Gilmour sings this one. He's like way up at the top of his range, and it's real sort of punkish and bombastic and everything, which is something that Pink Floyd doesn't do a whole lot, but it's a really cool song from sort of a, you know, an album that isn't as popular for them. This was the soundtrack to a movie. Side 1 of this is really good. Side 2 is sort of, you know, things for the movie, just little sound bits and stuff. But side 1 is really excellent, and Nile Song is the real gem on this album, in my opinion. All right, from metal, One of These Days. That bass in the beginning there with the delay of that repeated like thing, and when the bass starts chugging in there and those long drawn out guitar slides. And of course, when the song descends and drops out and everything, and just that blah, 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 blah. I always think of the Doctor Who theme when I hear that song. It always reminds me of that. But when everything sort of drops down and the drums just do those hits, and then you hear that lowered voice, the One of These Days, I'm going to cut you into little pieces, and then everything comes crashing back in. I just think it's such an intense, heavy song. So One of These Days. All right, from the album Obscured by Clouds, the song Obscured by Clouds, the title track. This sounds like some sort of, there's all these people out there doing these sort of lo-fi synthesizer type things now. That's what this sounds like. It has this droning like note through it. It's got a real simple, sounds like a drum machine, but it isn't, it's just this real simple drum part and this droning like keyboard line and sort of these airy little notes that sort of float in and out, and it just has this cloudy, floating, mysterious feel to it. And again, it's nothing heavy about it. There's like some slide guitar things in it and stuff like that, but it's just sort of the mood of the whole thing is just really sort of strange and unsettling sounding. All right, from, this is sort of a little bit of a similar thing from Dark Side of the Moon. On the Run, it has that oscillating like synthesizer thing. It just goes through and the voices sort of cutting in and out. This is another one when I was a kid and I got this and put the headphones on and you're hearing all this stuff sort of going back and forth, somebody walking back and forth in that synthesizer line that just keeps sort of swirling around. It's just so strange and trippy and like psychedelic as a kid. It just sort of freaked me out putting headphones on and listening to something like that. I could have also put Time on there. That's got some pretty heavy riffing in it also. That could have made the list. From Wish You Were Here, the song Welcome to the Machine. That I don't even know if I don't think there is a drum part in this song. I think it just has that mechanical, like pulsating, repetitive rhythm underneath it, and the way David Gilmour's vocals are, they're so anguished and like, welcome my son, welcome to the machine, the way he sings those parts and his voice sounds kind of far back, and it just the way this song moves along, it's so like robotic and futuristic dread sounding. The machines are taking over the world type of thing, and I always just thought that was a really intense, heavy, creepy, sort of scary type of song. So Welcome to the Machine. All right, from The Wall, In the Flesh. It's at the beginning of the album and sort of towards the end of the album. I always thought that main riff super cool, almost Sabbath-y like, a very metal type riff, and when the vocals come in, it's just big and bombastic and dramatic and just a really heavy riff where, again, Pink Floyd doesn't do a lot of songs that are driven solely by the riff. A lot of their stuff is more textural, but this is one that's really driven by the guitar riff, and it's a pretty heavy guitar riff in my opinion. So In the Flesh from The Wall. All right, and the last one I've got is from the Final Cut, Not Now, John. This is one almost like the Nile Song. This does have some heavy guitar in it. I did a video on this album, and it's really a Roger Waters solo album, but this is the David Gilmour number here where he comes in and he's again at the top of his range, and it's got these sort of big crashing chords in it, and it's, considering the rest of the album is pretty mellow, when this song comes in, it's pretty intense and it's pretty heavy. All right, I guess some honorable mentions. I was going to say Dogs from Animals. I think the end of that song is really heavy when it gets into the "He was dragged down by the stone," and even the middle section where it just gets all spacey and you just hear the dogs in the distance. That's pretty intense. So that one could have made the list. Also the title track from Saucer Full of Secrets. I almost put that one on there too. That's just a weird, crazy, psychedelic freak out jam at that spot where the drums just keep playing that and the guitar and all the noises and everything and crashes and everything. That's pretty intense and pretty heavy. So, all right, there you go. There's some 10 heavy Pink Floyd songs with some honorable mentions there. Let me know in the comments down below some Pink Floyd songs that maybe I missed, or what your thoughts are on my selections. All right, let me know in the comments down below. And until we see you again, make sure you rock hard, ride free.